Let me tell you something that most people watching this video are too afraid to admit. The stock market has been absolutely brutalizing. Three of the most powerful, most entrenched, most cash-generating software businesses that exist on this planet, and the people who own them are panic selling, like amateurs who don't understand what they own. That is a tragedy, but here is the part that should make your ears perk up. Because every single time in investing history that a great business has been painted with a brush of fear and abandoned by the crowd, the investors who stayed calm, ran the numbers, and bought with conviction walked away wealthy. Not lucky, wealthy. There is a massive difference between those two words. And today I'm going to show you exactly why Intuit, Salesforce, and ServiceNow might represent three of the most compelling, risk-adjusted opportunities sitting in front of you right now. The question is whether you are going to do something about it or whether you are going to sit on your couch and watch other people get rich while you waited for certainty that never comes in this market. Now, before we go any further, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now, not later. Now, because what I'm about to break down for you in terms of valuation, free cash flow analysis, and real business fundamentals is the kind of thinking that Wall Street pays analysts 6 figures a year to produce, and you are getting it for free. The only price of admission is a subscription. If you are serious about building wealth and not just watching videos about it, subscribe now and let's get to work. Intuit is the first company I want you to look at seriously. And I mean seriously, not casually, not with one eye on your phone. I mean sit down, pay attention, and understand what is actually happening here. You know, this company, even if you don't know it, TurboTax, QuickBooks, those are Intuit products, and there is a very high probability that you or someone in your immediate family has used one of them in the last 12 months. This is not some abstract technology company building something nobody has touched yet. This is embedded software that sits at the center of how tens of millions of Americans manage their money, file their taxes, and run their small businesses, and the stock has been absolutely demolished. We are talking about a drop of nearly 50% from its all-time high. The stock that was trading at over $800 is now sitting around $400. Year to date, it is down 35%. In the last 6 months, it is down 40%. And when you see numbers like that attached to a business like this, you have exactly two choices. You either panic like everyone else and sell, or you get curious and start asking the right questions. The reason the stock is down is not complicated. Wall Street has convinced itself that artificial intelligence is going to make TurboTax and QuickBooks obsolete. The narrative goes something like this. Why would anyone pay for TurboTax when an AI can file your taxes for free? Why would a small business owner pay for QuickBooks when an AI agent can handle the bookkeeping automatically? That fear is real. I'm not dismissing it. And anyone who tells you AI is not going to change the software landscape is not paying attention. But here is where the thinking has to get more precise than a vague fear of disruption. Because there is a massive difference between AI will change this industry and this specific company is going to collapse. Let me give you the numbers. Because numbers don't have feelings and they don't panic. The market capitalization of Intuit is approximately $113 billion. The enterprise value is around $125 billion. That $6 billion difference represents their net debt position, which sounds significant until you look at their free cash flow. Last year, Intuit generated $6.84 billion in free cash flow. That means they could theoretically pay off every dollar of net debt in less than 1 year of free cash flow generation. Think about that. This is not a company on the financial ropes. This is a company printing money while the stock market treats it like it is bleeding out. Their price to free cash flow ratio is sitting at 16.5 times. That same ratio was 40 to 50 times just a few years ago. People who were buying at 50 times free cash flow were not getting a better business. They were paying 3 times the price for the same engine. So today you can buy that same engine 16 times. So now I want you to understand why I focus on free cash flow and not net income. Because this is where most retail investors make a critical error. Intuit's PE ratio based on net income is around 26. Their price to free cash flow is 16.5. That is a 10-point gap. And it matters because free cash flow is the actual cash a business generates after paying all of its bills. Net income is an accounting number that can be massaged, depreciated, and manipulated in ways that free cash flow simply cannot. Always, always follow the cash. Now, let me give you the other side of the ledger, because I am not here to sell you on a stock. I am here to give you the truth. Intuit's growth is slowing. They grew 17% last quarter, and they are guiding for around 10% this quarter. Still growing, but decelerating. Their MailChimp product, which they bought in 2021, has gone from owning 70% of the email marketing market to sitting in the low 50s. That is not a small drop, and it is not good. It tells you that Intuit is not invincible and that not every acquisition they make turns to gold. Those are legitimate concerns and they deserve weight in your analysis. But here's what I keep coming back to. Analysts who study this business full-time are projecting earnings per share growth of 15% annually over the next 4 years, with revenue growth of 10 to 13% per year. If even half of that plays out, you are buying a growing cash-generating machine at 16 times free cash flow. When I run my own conservative analysis on Intuit with revenue growth assumptions of 5, 8, and 11%, profit margins on free cash flow of 28 to 32%, and a 10-year price-to-earnings multiple of 18 to 24, I get an intrinsic value range with a low of $400 and a high of $890 with a middle estimate around $600. The stock today is at $406. That middle estimate is 48% above where you can buy it right now. That is not a guaranteed return. And any investor who tells you a return is guaranteed is either lying to you or lying to themselves. But when a high-quality business trades at or near the low end of a reasonable intrinsic value range, that is the moment serious investors pay attention. Now let us move to Salesforce, ticker symbol CRM. And I want you to understand something about this company before we get into the numbers. If Intuit is the backbone of personal finance and small business accounting, Salesforce is the backbone of how large enterprises manage every single customer relationship they have. Every sales call you have ever received from a major company, every marketing email that has landed in your inbox. From a business with more than a few hundred employees, there is an exceptional probability that Salesforce was the system powering that interaction behind the scenes. This is not optional software for the companies that use it. This is the central nervous system of their revenue operations, and yet the stock is down over 28% in the last 6 months alone. For exactly the same reason Intuit is down. The market is afraid that AI agents are going to replace the need for Salesforce seats entirely. Why pay per user licenses for a CRM system when an AI can manage customer relationships automatically? That fear is driving the selling, and the selling is driving the price down. And when the price goes down, more people panic and sell more, and the cycle feeds itself until something breaks the pattern. What breaks the pattern is not sentiment. It is not a good news headline. It is when the numbers become so compelling that value-oriented investors simply cannot justify staying on the sidelines anymore. Let me show you what the numbers look like right now. The market capitalization of Salesforce is approximately $176 billion. The enterprise value is $220 billion. That difference of $44 billion represents their debt load, which sounds enormous until you stack it against their free cash flow. Last year, Salesforce generated $14.5 billion in free cash flow, a 5-year average of $9.6 billion. They could pay off that debt in 3 years of free cash flow at the trailing rate. Their price to free cash flow multiple is 12.3 times 12.3. That is extraordinarily low for a business of this quality, this scale, and this level of entrenchment in the enterprise software ecosystem. Here is another number I want you to sit with. Their 10-year revenue growth rate is 20% per year. Their 5-year rate is 14%. Their 3-year rate is 10%. Yes, it is decelerating, and yes, their guidance for next year came in at 10 to 11% growth, which is below their 5-year average of 15%, and that is a real concern. When growth decelerates for a software company that was previously priced for hypergrowth, the multiple compresses and the stock gets hit hard. That is what you are seeing. But here is the other side. Their profit margin has gone from 10.5% over a 10-year average to 18% last year. This business is not just growing revenue, it is becoming dramatically more profitable as it scales. They're also not sitting idle in the face of the AI threat. They are building their own AI platform called Agentforce, which is a direct bet that AI does not make Salesforce obsolete, but instead makes Salesforce dramatically more powerful and valuable to the enterprises that already depend on it. Whether that bet pays off is a central question. But the fact that they are building it with $14 billion of annual free cash flow means they have the resources to compete, which is not something you can say about smaller players in this space. Our community's analysis has Salesforce at an intrinsic value of $296. When I run my own conservative model using revenue growth of 5, 7.5, and 10%, profit margins on free cash flow of 25%, 30, and 35%, and a 10-year earnings multiple of 14 to 22 times, I arrive at a low price of $190, a middle price of $320, and a high price of $520. The stock today is trading around $240, even on conservative assumptions. That middle estimate represents over 30% upside from today's price, and the high estimate represents more than double, I am not telling you to buy it. I am telling you that ignoring it at this price is intellectually indefensible if you are a serious investor. Now we get to the third company, and in my view, the most interesting of the three, because of one word: stickiness. ServiceNow, ticker symbol NOS, does something that is fundamentally different from both Intuit and Salesforce in terms of its customer relationship. They do not serve consumers filing taxes. They do not primarily serve sales teams managing pipelines. ServiceNow serves hospitals, government agencies, global banks, and massive corporations. And what they do for those organizations is manage every single internal operation those institutions run: IT, help tickets, HR workflows, legal request processing, compliance tracking, facilities management. All of it flows through ServiceNow. And the critical thing to understand is that when an organization the size of a major hospital system or a national government agency embeds ServiceNow into their operations, it does not just become software they use, it becomes the infrastructure of how that organization functions at a foundational level. Ripping it out is not a business decision. It is closer to performing surgery on a patient who is fully awake and still needs to function throughout the entire procedure. That is what gives this business its moat. And it is a deeper moat than either Intuit or Salesforce, as sticky as those companies are. And yet the stock is down over 30% this year and over 50% from its highs in 2025. The story is identical to what we have already heard twice. AI is coming. Seats are going to be replaced by agents. The platform will become obsolete. Let me now show you the numbers, because the numbers here are frankly remarkable. The market capitalization is approximately $105 billion. Enterprise value $111 billion. The difference is only $6 billion in net debt, and their free cash flow last year was $4.5 billion. That means they could pay off all net debt in roughly 1.5 years of free cash flow. When you have that kind of financial flexibility at a company growing this fast, you have something genuinely rare. The price to free cash flow multiple is 23 times. The PE based on net income is 60 times. That gap should immediately tell you something important. There is a massive difference between accounting profit and actual cash generation at this business. And the free cash flow number is the one that matters. Now look at the growth history. Over the last 10 years, ServiceNow has grown revenue at 30% per year. Over the last 5 years, 24% per year. Over the last 3 years, 22.5% per year. And critically, unlike Intuit and Salesforce, this growth has been largely organic. Their total acquisitions over the last 5 years amount to only $2.35 billion. While they have averaged $2.9 billion per year in free cash flow over that same period, they have been growing at a rate that would make most investors weep with envy. While barely spending anything on acquisitions to fuel that growth, that is genuine operational excellence. The analysts covering the stock are projecting a doubling of profits over the next 4 years and a doubling of revenue over the same period, with annual revenue growth in the 18 to 20% range. I'm not going to make those assumptions myself because analyst projections carry human bias and institutional pressure that you should always discount. When I run my own model using revenue growth of 9, 13, and 17%, far more conservative than analyst consensus. Profit margins on free cash flow of 30, 33, and 36%, and a 10-year price-to-earnings multiple of 16 to 22 times, I arrive at a low price of $95 and a middle price of $160 and a high price of $260. The stock is currently trading around $170. At the conservative end, the stock is fairly valued. At the middle assumption, it is right there. At the high assumption, there is substantial upside. The margin of safety here is thinner than the other two, which is why this one requires the most conviction in the thesis about ServiceNow's durability in the face of AI disruption. Now I want to speak directly to the fear that is driving all three of these stocks lower, because it deserves an honest and rigorous confrontation rather than a dismissal. The fear is that artificial intelligence is going to make software as a service obsolete. AI agents will do the work that human users currently do inside these platforms. Companies will cancel their seats, revenue will crater, and these businesses will become the Blockbusters and Kodaks of this generation. I want you to think very carefully about whether that narrative actually holds up under examination. Because when you examine the history of transformational technology, what you typically find is not mass extinction. What you find is a sorting process. Weak businesses that were never really moats get disrupted. Strong businesses that were genuinely essential adapt, incorporate the new technology, and come out more powerful than they were before. The internet did not kill every retailer. It killed weak retailers and created enormous opportunities for strong ones who adapted. Mobile computing did not kill every technology company. It killed companies that were not essential and accelerated the dominance of companies that were. The question you have to ask yourself about each of these three businesses is not whether AI will change their industry. It absolutely will. The question is whether the specific value these companies deliver is replaceable by AI, or whether AI actually makes their platforms more valuable by handling the routine tasks while freeing up the platform itself to do higher-level work. When I use QuickBooks and then take my report and run it through an AI system to verify the data, I'm not replacing QuickBooks. I am adding a layer on top of it. The moment QuickBooks builds that verification layer internally, the product becomes more valuable, not less. That is the scenario where Intuit wins in an AI world. The same logic applies to Salesforce, which is exactly what Agentforce is designed to do, and to ServiceNow, whose workflows and organizational logic are so complex and so deeply embedded that AI agents would need years simply to understand the institutional context before they could begin to replace the platform. These are not certainties. They are possibilities grounded in business logic. And the market is currently pricing all three as if disruption is a certainty rather than a possibility, which is where the opportunity lives. Now let me tell you how I think about actually building a position around this idea, because owning the thesis is not the same as owning a portfolio strategy. The core insight here is that you do not need to pick the winner among these three companies. You do not need to decide with confidence that Intuit survives, but Salesforce gets disrupted, or that ServiceNow is the one that comes out on top. The smarter approach, and the approach that is consistent with everything serious long-term investing teaches us, is to acknowledge that you cannot predict with certainty which specific company wins, and to build a position in all three that reflects the overall thesis. The thesis is this: enterprise and small business software is not going away because of AI, and the companies with the deepest moats, the strongest cash flows, and the most embedded customer relationships will navigate this transition better than the market currently believes. If you build an equal weight position in all three of these companies at today's prices, you are effectively creating your own concentrated SaaS resilience fund. If all three survive the AI transition and grow conservatively over the next decade, the returns from these prices will be substantial. If one of the three gets more disrupted than you anticipated, the strength of the other two compensates. You size these positions based on your conviction level, your existing portfolio concentration in technology, and your personal risk tolerance. Intuit has the lowest free cash flow, multiple at 16 times, and the clearest consumer moat. Salesforce has the lowest multiple of the three at 12 times free cash flow and the most aggressive AI pivot. ServiceNow has the deepest switching costs but the thinnest margin of safety at current prices. Weight accordingly. Let me leave you with this, because this is where I need you to stop being a spectator and start making decisions like an investor. So the three companies I just walked you through are not lottery tickets. They are not speculative bets on unproven technology. They are established, cash-generating, deeply entrenched software businesses that are trading at multiples that would have seemed impossible to achieve. Just dive. Years ago, Intuit at 16 times free cash flow, Salesforce at 12 times free cash flow, ServiceNow with $6 billion in net debt they could retire in 18 months. The market has handed you a discount on quality because it is afraid that fear may persist for another 6 months. It may persist for another year. I cannot tell you when the sentiment turns, and nobody who tells you they can is being honest with you. What I can tell you is this: in my experience studying and investing in businesses for decades, the pattern of great companies going on sale due to narrative fear and then recovering as the fundamentals reassert themselves is one of the most reliable patterns that exists in public markets. You are either going to do the work, run the numbers, and act with conviction, or you are going to watch this opportunity pass you by and explain to yourself later why you knew about it but did not do anything. That choice is yours, and I am done talking. Go run the numbers.